Oh, shit. Right, it's Thursday. Hi YouTube. It's more... No, we can't use that? Okay, sorry. Sorry, I'll start again. Hi YouTube, I'm Grump, and I'm also not... What's the problem this time? That was copyright. Oh... Hey YouTube, my name's Chill. Welcome to my vlog. So, excuse me. I was eating a lot of chicken earlier. My breakfast, sue me. So it is currently 11 in the morning, on Thursday. This is very early for me to wake up, and I don't normally do that, but I do that for you guys because I like you guys so much. So, you know, you're welcome. No, I'm sorry. It's lack of sleep. So for this episode, actually, I'm going to talk about something nerdy. I know. Shocking. I'm going to be talking about Boy Scout superheroes. Not Boy Scouts as in the Scouts. I mean Boy Scout superheroes as in ones who are goody-two shoes. Like Superman and Captain America. And why I think the world needs them. Especially right now. Also, I'm going to be tackling fandom entitlement. What does that mean? You just have to tune in for the rest of the episode to find out. But I have work. So, I've been shooting this little intro just so you guys know what's going to happen in the rest of the episode. Because the rest of the episode is not going to be happening in the living room. Although, actually, you know what? It might happen in the living room. I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out when it happens. But, I'm going to be having a friend on, my friend Andres, and we're going to be talking about both superheroes and fandom entitlement. So, I guess I'll see you guys in a bit. I mean, for you guys, it's going to be like, what? 10, 20 seconds. For me, it's going to be a whole day. Yeah. Anyways, I guess I'll see you later. Or whatever.
That's pretty good.
Alright, so hopefully that was a seamless transition from what was happening in the last 20 seconds that you guys just saw me. Shut up.
Alright.
Shut up. I hate you guys. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. These are my friends, Andres and Tristan. And they're the ones that are going to be here to talk to me about nerdy shit. Not all the time. I'm going to pepper them in here and there.
Depends if he wants us or not.
Probably not, though. Knowing him. Probably not.
First episode, and you guys already making me sound like such an asshole.
Wasn't that what you called us for?
That's what we're here for.
That's what Tristan and I talked about on the way over.
I've made a serious mistake.
So, the talk was about Boy Scout characters, the goody-two shoes. Now, I have a lot of friends, present company... listen, alright?
It's just a two.
So, so I have a lot of friends, present company I'm not sure is included, but they, generally speaking, don't like the idea of the goody-two-shoe superhero because they're to the book. They're not interesting or they have a predictable moral code. And truth be told, I kind of get that. But that's probably not the reason why goody-two-shoes heroes exist. Take Superman, for instance. Superman is a man who has an undeniably long list of powers. You can probably name any of them, even by accident, and they probably have existed at some point or another. The reason he is such an interesting character is because he's so powerful and he chooses to do the right thing, not because he's forced to, but because he chooses to. That's kind of what makes him a Superman, not necessarily all of his powers, because truth be told, even without his powers, I'm pretty sure he'd still be a good dude. He had a good upbringing with his parents, both alien for the most part and human. I mean, because let's be honest, Jor-El was, you know...
The few months he was left, how old
Even
was
then
he
it
when
was-
he left?
It was pretty non-existent. He was like a baby.
Yeah.
He was really young.
No, I mean in terms of just like...
I'm pretty
the
sure they
Fortress
made
of
sure that
Solitude.
he was
Oh, yeah, Fortress of Solitude. I mean, he was there on occasion, but more whenever he really needed him, not so much raising him on like a
True.
daily basis
Yeah.
like what Jonathan and Martha did.
Exactly. That's at his core who he is. He's a Superman because he does the right thing. You understand?
I'm sure one of you can attest to it, but like, at least one of the points where Superman may not have powers, he was still probably going out of his way for it.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely. Another character, Captain America. the poster boy of what America wants to be or what America should be, not necessarily what America is right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't heard about America, it's probably for the best, I guess.
Troubling?
Yeah, it's...
Troubling's a good word.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a dark place. And I'm not talking like me dark, I'm talking like dark.
Both.
Just a little bit of both.
Why not both?
Leaning towards maybe like the me dark.
Oh.
You know, like not quite.
Almost there. Like almost.
So not Andres.
Not quite. Like just somewhere like a
We are the
caramel
spectrum.
dark.
If
You are
any,
the spectrum. You are looking at the spectrum.
if any of this is going all over your head, this is a racial thing. This is skin tone. We're talking skin tone.
Yeah.
Yay! Inclusivity! Anyways. You doing alright?
Alright.
No,
Pop-
okay.
Yeah? You're good? Cool.
Actually, water?
We don't have any of it. Anyways.
Cool.
Why even offer?
So the reason Boy Scout characters need to exist, especially in the world today, the world, I mean, I'm generally speaking a pretty optimistic guy. Realistic, but optimistic. But the reason Boy Scout characters need to exist, in my opinion, is they are an ideal to strive towards. Now, just because, you know, they're not as cool as, let's say, Batman or Daredevil or the ones that are, like, in the nitty-gritty, you know, those guys do exist. I'm not saying they don't. But the reason that Captain America and Superman, those characters kind of are around, are because they're the ones with the somewhat unfailing moral code. No matter what kind of position they're put in, you know they will do the right thing, and that's kind of something I feel like people should want to strive towards instead of like, it's kind of lame. Like, no, I get it, you know, if you're gonna buy a comic from Captain America trying to do the right thing, or Daredevil trying to take down a drug ring, but not necessarily in the cleanest of ways,
Right.
I'm gonna say, yeah, most people would probably lean towards Daredevil, and I get it.
Most people would, yeah.
But myself, I'm gonna lean towards Cap. I'm a goody two shoes at heart. I like the idea of. You know what? That's okay.
Okay.
I'm alright with that.
You know what? For once, I'm actually gonna have to agree with on this one.
Yeah.
The character that I've always, you know, loved and grown up with was SpiderMan, and so SpiderMan
Yeah.
was very much, you know, one that's not really considered often with Superman and Captain America, but he is ultimately somebody who always did the right thing.
Yeah.
He always did his best to save as many people as he could, while also keeping to the moral code. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And, you know, living up to what his Uncle Ben and Aunt May ultimately would want. And I always saw Spider-Man as a bit of like a hope character, whereas most people absolutely love.
Sorry about that. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah, apparently some major shit with the cats going on out there. Cats. I always thought one of the really cool things with a character like Spider-Man was he always strived to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even though things weren't easy for him, he always persevered to do that right thing. And
Yeah.
you know what? More often than not, he was rewarded for it.
Yeah.
He got the girl in Mary Jane. He had the family life. Sure, his job wasn't the greatest, but he had the respect of all of his peers.
Yeah.
And I thought that, you know, unlike a character like Batman, who's always alienating his followers with Robin and Batgirl, they're always at odds with him, always arguing with him.
Yeah.
I found Spider-Man, as Peter Parker, always had the
Inclusivity.
trust
Yeah.
of the people, you know, that he cared about and built around. So
Sort
I
of.
always thought that was something really cool.
Sort of related. I guess out of the three of us. With Spider-Man specifically, I always looked at him being a superhero sort of like a weird-ish metaphor on jobs versus passion, like careers, and how it was always clear to me that he felt the best when he was Spider-Man as compared to doing
His regular
job.
day-to-day job. Yeah.
Whether that's partially because the job that he did have was not the job he always wanted, but it's still part of that.
Still stands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we've been ranting and raving about how, you know, superheroes should be beacons of hope. But that also, I guess, kind of falls into place with entitlement. Just because we want something doesn't necessarily mean we should get it. And, I mean, it doesn't mean we always have to agree with everything. But, you know, there are certain times where fandoms may get a little bit out of hand. If you guys haven't been listening or reading comics or just doing normal day-to-day things with your life like an average person, kudos to you, by the way, you have not heard that Captain America is now HYDRA. Or has been HYDRA for a while.
Forever.
Yeah.
He's always been Hydra.
Yeah.
Is ultimately what I know of the change.
Yeah.
Because apparently his mom was part of HYDRA as well.
Right.
That's how far back he goes.
Does that make sense?
So he was like, raise Hydra. It's a race now.
A lot of people have had audible issues with it, myself included. I thought it was a weird choice. My knee-jerk reaction was, really? Are you sure about that, Marvel? You're gonna make Captain America a Hydra agent?
Everything he stood against.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not a Nazi. I'm gonna make that clear. Hydra stood against Nazis. Not to say that they're good for it. They just don't like many people. They're a very exclusive club.
It sounds about the same.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the movies really tied in Hydra with the Nazis, but in
Yeah.
the comic, they are
Even
separate.
for that
entity.
argument, I do remember they still wanted to fight against them regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very much a
Like an off-brand.
off-brand Nazis. Oh boy.
It's like a spin-off. It's like the Joey of
Of the. You guys can leave now.
Take my pizza, take your pizza. Just gotta-
Alright, Bo. Alright.
Is that good enough? Say.
Yeah,
good
it's
enough?
perfect. No, get back in here. I missed you guys. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an entitled person. I mean, there are definitely times where I'm just like, that's stupid. I'm not going to read that. And that's fine, because not a lot of people are going to read all the stories. But that being said, that doesn't mean that you should take to death threats because you don't like a comic change.
No.
That's when the fandom gets bad.
Yeah.
And worse.
Yeah.
There was a great article on Birth Movies Death by Devin Faraci talking about entitlement and talking about bad fandom. Fandom is broken, and the thing is, he mentions about specifically the whole Captain America secretly Hydra situation, and he includes a letter from a Marine officer who specifies that, you know, he sort of built his entire life and moral code around Captain America.
Yeah.
And how he always believed that knowing this was the way he stopped himself from becoming a monster.
Yeah.
And with this current issue, sort of takes everything that he ever believed in the code and himself and sort of called it a lie. And it sort of destroyed him because, you know, how do you live 21 years believing something to just it being taken away?
Yeah.
All three of us have read this letter, and we all were on his side of the letter for the first two-thirds of it.
Completely.
And then in the final part, he tells the current writers of the new issue, saying, or I think it's part of the Marvel head office or something.
Yeah.
He says he will track down the people behind this decision, and he will find them and kill them.
Yeah.
And that's where it was like, it's too far.
Yeah.
First of all, if you have your moral code for 21 years,
And
a new issue shouldn't disrupt that.
Yeah. Again, the idea of Captain America still stands. The man who wants to do the right thing. Just because one issue of a comic kind of changes that perspective. All the things that you've done as a person doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you have to change because a character's changed.
This is an arc of, you know, of that character, and we don't know how it's going to end, don't know what the full details will be, exactly what it is. So, like you said, it doesn't mean that what you've done based on this character means nothing now.
Yeah.
Did either of you read the whole arc between Spider-Man and Doc Ock?
I did not, but I heard it was
Read a lot
good.
of it, yeah.
I was again one of the people who was like, this seems like a very strange choice. I didn't hate it, but I was like, I'm not going to read it.
I remember I picked up the first issue of it, and I felt the same way. But for me, it was a good, because that was around the time I was getting into comics. It was a good place for me to go into that comic run. And I sort of followed through with it, and it got really good. Because then it ended up showing to Doc Ock, who I think I mentioned it switched places with Peter Parker. It's weird, it's comics, it's whatever.
Don't try and logic it. It's
comics.
No point.
Not the best choice.
So either way, Doc Ock ends up helping Peter Parker's life become better, but in the process also realizes what it means to be Parker and to be a superhero and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it ends up being a really fascinating read, but if you take just the first issue, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense, it's weird.
And why you're doing this, you know, what was the point of this? But it served its purpose, and it served a pretty good one.
Yeah, so who knows where this whole issue for this arc is going to end up going.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 13 issues or something, and it goes nowhere and it's a disaster. Maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll find out in 13 issues.
It's true.
You know, let the story play out before...
Especially
before sending death threats.
I think that's just something fans in general have to understand. Yeah. They're not always going to cater to exactly you. They're going to try and cater to a fandom in general. Writers, directors, they're just going to try and make the story that they think people will enjoy watching. If you don't like it, if you don't enjoy it, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You're not getting forced into watching this.
I mean, in 2 years, there's probably going to be a reboot anyway.
Probably.
Oh.
Just think about that. There probably will be.
There totally is.
We're already planning the retcon. So
yeah, it's true.
Well, going back to the death threats thing, I find, that case was a very, very kind of strong case of someone who built their identity around it.
Yeah.
But I think one of my issues with this fan entitlement is that it's coming down to small things. I remember when the Avengers has first negative review, people sent death threats to the woman who wrote the article.
Yep.
Death threats. Just because she gave it, she still said it was, like a good movie, but just it wasn't, I think, her cup of tea. I don't remember the exact wording of it. But they sent her death threats because she didn't give it the perfect score and it didn't get 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, I think part of that is the internet. Like, it's this constant access to the writers and everybody.
It's a certain shield to a certain degree. Like, you don't have to face the person in person anymore. I realized that was a bit redundant, but
it's like when you get angry with someone through text message and you guys are in the middle of a fight. I don't know about you guys, but for me, once I was going into a subway and I didn't have access to send a text, but I wrote it, and then by the time I got out of the subway, like 10 minutes later, I was like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But if I was outside, I would have sent that text,
Yeah.
and then it would have made things worse. So it's that constant thing that I can log on Twitter right now and find all my favorite writers and sort of contact them. Whether or not they'll read it is a different story, but
still,
I can sort of...
You can put your word out there.
Yeah, and it's this heat of the moment situation. It's become childish.
Absolutely. So essentially, moral of the story is, as a fan, if you enjoy something, enjoy it. If you don't send death threats. That's just dumb. It's unnecessary. And you know what? It's gonna get retconned and rebooted at some point anyway, so don't even sweat it. If you're gonna strive to be something, just be the Boy Scout character. Just try and do the right thing. Anyways, I'm tired. No, I'm not. I'm just really hungry. But it's been great.
And it's good.
Yeah, right? Have you not eaten it?
It's good.
Okay.
I took a bite.
There we go.
Wait, I want them to see how good it looks.
He gets it.
Yeah, I've eaten about like half your pizza.
I'll see you guys next week.